Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. I thought I'd do a little intellectual house cleaning, a little entertainment house cleaning. Last week I watched the Teddy Hart documentary. Uh, Very interesting piece. I want to get the whole name here. It's one of those deals. It's Dangerous Breed, uh, but I just when they do these titles, sometimes it's a long-winded title. Dangerous Breed: Crimes, Cons, Cats. It's a good title. It's a little hard to remember in its entirety. I mean, they could have just called it Teddy Hart, and probably everybody would be happier. I have noticed that films or TV productions sometimes they put too much effort into their titles, and they kind of make things harder on themselves than they have to be. But in any event, let's talk about it. It's a three-part series. I believe each part is an hour. This was on Peacock, which is actually also the home of the WWE uh, product, WWE, Wrestle Cheese. And for Teddy Hart, he was actually I thought one thing I learned off the bat was that he actually is a legitimate nephew of Bret the Hitman Hart. Georgia Hart, one of Bret's sisters, is the mother of Teddy Hart. I don't think they went into who Teddy Hart's father was in this doc. That kind of was left untied. Another little loose end is that they mentioned Teddy's famous family, Jim Neidhart, Bret Hart, and Davy Boy Smith, his famous uncles, but they failed to mention Owen Hart. And when they first failed to mention Owen, I figured, okay, there's going to be some type of Owen reference later in the series. It never came to fruition. They showed Owen's image a few times, but they never mentioned Owen Hart or his tragic passing, or if that ever had anything to do with Teddy's attitude or feelings about wrestling. So they just kind of glossed over that, which was a little unfulfilled. So what's this whole documentary about? Well, Teddy Hart is your typical, kind of like Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, or many other characters, Rocky before his redemption. He's a guy that could have been a contender, going back to Marlon Brando and On the Waterfront. Just another character, but this guy's a real guy. Someone who basically had all the skills, all the talent, certainly had the charisma to be a big-time wrestling star. And as they say in the pro wrestling industry, his demons caught up to him. Now, the demons here in Teddy Hart's life appear to be uh, his relationships with women. I'm not going to say women. It's not really the women's fault, but Teddy's outlook or his interactions with the women in his life. There's a wife, there's a girlfriend, there's another girlfriend, there's another girlfriend. And that goes to another big part of the story when, spoiler, but they say in the first 5 minutes of the series, one of Teddy's most recent girlfriends disappears. I think she's a mother of 2 or 3 kids. I think 3 kids. Nice lady. She's training to be a wrestler with Teddy. She's training to be a mixed martial artist. That's an interesting question, Adam. My good buddy Adam here from Florida. He's wondering on a scale of 1 to 10, how close to being Tiger King was Teddy. It's a different type of animal, so to speak. I mean, not to just break things down by the sexuality of the characters or the people, but maybe a 7. I give a 7 to that. I mean, they both are flamboyant. They're both are outrageous. I do think that Tiger King, Joe Tiger, in his own kind of warped way, really did have an affinity for the animals. I mean, maybe he wasn't the best with them. And I know that I had watched that doc 2 years ago. Did the Tiger King actually lead to the deaths of some of the tigers? I can't remember, but in some regards, it seemed like the Tiger King liked tigers, Joe Tiger, and so forth. But as far that's okay, buddy. It's interactive. If I didn't want the interactive, I wouldn't ask for it. You know what I mean? So it's all good, buddy. I'm trying to figure out what your little profile thing is. If that's is that the guy that runs Mint Mobile, Ryan Reynolds? If you're a big Ryan Reynolds fan, Adam, you can watch Messier Mantra. I interviewed the guy that wrote Buried, which is a Ryan Reynolds film. He was on my Messier Mantra show. The Buried screenwriter was on there a couple of times. Anyway, going back to this review of the Teddy Hart thing. Um, Here's a thing, when you're watching this documentary, this is one of those documentaries where the filmmaker feels the need to put himself on camera a lot. Now, if you've seen some of my works, Disregard the Vampire, Mike Messier, 13 award-winning documentary, or even Rejected by Reality, I've been known to do that as well. Michael Moore does that. If you saw Super Size Me 1 and 2, there is a Super Size Me 2, by the way, Super Size Me 2 Holy Chicken. You'll notice that all these documentaries, the filmmaker, the documentarian, as it were, puts himself on camera. Well, this gentleman, Fred is his name, does that quite a bit in his Dangerous Breed doc, but kind of to an annoyance. Like, it's kind of feeling like Fred is basically putting himself on a moral pedestal above Teddy. Um, he's not very self-aware. Fred is, about his own faults. For instance, in a sense, you can say that he kind of betrays Teddy a couple of times. He betrays their confidence, looking for a story. Now, of course, a story develops with this missing woman, and even before that, there are some really scary moments with Teddy interacting with, I believe, his third girlfriend. I think her name is Misha or something like that, young female wrestler. And so there's some real elements of scary situations with Teddy. Is he going to slap a woman? Is he going to hit a woman? It's obviously not very nice. But, if this filmmaker Fred was so disgusted and so revolted by Teddy's actions or his attitudes, why did he keep working with him? So, but I guess you can say he's chasing the story. And Fred admits that as well. I mean, the whole thing is that Fred was trying to make this reality show with Teddy Hart for basically 10 years. And people just weren't interested because Teddy is juggling cats. Teddy is kind of erratic and so forth. And that brings me to the next topic of this doc, Adam, which is the cats. I actually like the cats. I mean, I'm a cat fan, as it were, just standard house cats. But Teddy has this real thing for Persian show cats, as he calls them. I don't know if that's their official name, but they are very cute cats. It's a little insane that he's got a house full of between 50 and 100 Persian show cats at any time. But the cats are pretty adorable. They're cute. And when you see Teddy Hart going out to the wrestling ring and he's holding this giant cat like a baby in his arms several times, it's pretty entertaining. And then there's a moment where he actually mounts the cat on the top turnbuckle of the ring. And, luckily the opponent didn't go over there and kick the turnbuckle. I'm noticing I've got like this Ox Baker type of eyebrow thing going here. If you see that, normally I don't like to point out the intricities in my face, but my eyebrows look very Ox Bakerish today, which is interesting. So Ox Baker, of course, you can see one of my most popular videos here on the Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. Ox Baker, one of the boys. I think I'm going to crack my neck now. Oh, God. I actually had started this kind of exercise stretching routine before my trip to New England, and I kind of fell out of it when I was in New England. And now I think I got to fall back into it because I can feel the stiffness in my neck. What else? So is this series, here's the deal. When you see that it's a 3-part series, like a 3 1-hour series show on Peacock, you kind of know, like, okay, this is not Making of a Murderer on Netflix, which I just got through. This is not, The Office with 10 seasons. Is 3 hours of my life digestible for this? Or can I digest this in 3 hours of my life? I think it's more entertaining than probably the Beatles thing, the Get Out, unless you're a huge Beatles fan. I found that whole Get Out thing on Disney to be extremely flaccid in many ways. Like, it's kind of cool to see them there, but I could have used like a 15 or 20-minute version of Get Out, not like the 9-hour version. So does 3 hours of Fred and Teddy Hart and the cats and the women, it's entertaining, and I do feel like Teddy Hart is a guy that I probably wouldn't like in real life, but he is entertaining. He is a little suspect when it comes to or a lot suspect when it comes to his interaction, especially with the women in his life. But is he a killer? Did he lead this woman to her death? I don't feel like a case was really made to prove that. In fact, the filmmaker Fred kind of slips in that Teddy was on the other side of the country when this woman disappeared or when she was reported missing. So it's highly unlikely that Teddy had anything to do with her being missing. Fred does take some issues with Teddy's lack of memory about where he was exactly or where he was wrestling when this woman disappeared. But the thing is, these wrestlers, they wrestle all over the place so often. They get conked in the head with chairs, and they can't necessarily be held accountable for memorizing their whole schedule. It's just, talk to any wrestler, and they will tell you that the wrestling fans remember their lives better than they remember their lives themselves. So I don't necessarily hold it against Teddy that he doesn't know exactly where he was, exactly when. I didn't see any real proof that Teddy had anything to do with this young lady's disappearance. I think it's a tragedy that she's gone. Another aspect that a friend of mine that I watched this thing with pointed out was they really try to play up the indigenous people missing syndrome of this young lady. Well, no offense, but this woman does not look, she does not present herself, let's put it that way, as an indigenous female. She basically has the fake plastic boobs, which is fine. She's not really talking or presenting herself or representing First Americans or Native Americans or First People in any way. So to just kind of pull the indigenous woman missing and doesn't get attention card, it seems a little disingenuous to me, like really reaching for something. I think what's more accurate, filmmaker Fred, is that quite simply, the United States does not have all the resources you might think to go searching for every missing person. There was that recent case in North Carolina where a woman went to Mexico with her quote friends, and they ended up filming her getting beat up by another one of these supposed friends. And sure, we'd love to send all the resources to help her and to help this one and help that one. But the reality is our country doesn't have all these unlimited resources. So if you take your chances, if you go to Mexico or if you go to Russia to play basketball, or if you do anything in this world, Michael Fay, I believe North Korea, 1994, you get whacked with a bamboo stick. So, I mean, this has been happening for most of my lifetime. You see these situations, these stories of Americans going to other countries and they don't come back in one piece, or they get abused or they get arrested. But people keep on going to these places, because they feel like they can't find something exciting here in the United States. I've been traveling the U.S. for most of the last 2 years, the Floridas, the Texases, through the Carolinas, the East Coast, North Reading, Pennsylvania, the New England, and I can tell you there's a lot of fun things right here to do in the good old USA. Who's more of a weird screw up? This is a good one, Teddy or Marty Jannetty? And would they make a good tag team? They actually probably would. I mean, as far as the wrestling styles, I'm not sure how good a wrestler Marty is now. It is, probably pushing 55 years old, pushing 60. But in his prime, Marty Jannetty was a very solid wrestler. He was viewed as the more solid, more, consistent, technically sound, if you would, of the team of Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. I think Bruce Pritchard, our buddy there, Pritchard with no T, Adam, has said that a lot of people thought Marty Jannetty was going to be the breakout star of the Rockers in 1990-91. But Marty had some demons, as they all do. Claimed about a year and a half ago that when he was a kid, like a teenager, he killed the guy who was hitting on him down by the river. He kind of like indicted himself into a murder for no reason. And later, of course, he backtracked that. But yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's also been some accusations, and I don't want to spread rumors, but if you go to the Brutus Beefcake video, he made some accusations against both Rockers, dealing with the women of the wrestling community back in the day. So you can look that up if you really feel treacherous or dangerous. Who's worse? You can probably put Buck Sumhoff would probably be worse than either of them if you found out that story. And I know that there's tons more wrestling guys who've had issues with a variety of suspicious activities. So to answer your question, I might go with Jannetty, to be honest with you, Adam. I think Jannetty is probably more of a weird screw up. I think Teddy, at least he has his cats, if that makes any sense. Like, once you see him juggling the cat, you're kind of like, oh my God, is this guy going to abuse these poor animals? But he really doesn't. I mean, he does juggle them, but like he says, they kind of enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, I think both of these guys, probably Teddy is probably more violent towards women, so that's a knock against him. I don't know if we've really seen Marty being abusive towards women, but just kind of abusive towards himself. And the guy down by the river when he was 14 or whatever. Okay, Adam, if you have any more further insights or questions, feel free. I did watch that, parts of the Survivor Series. I was upset that there was no blood. I'm trying to educate these wrestling fans that you need blood in a war games. They don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. But if you have any more quick questions, Adam, or anyone else, throw them out there. If not, I'm going to move about my day. Let's see. I haven't seen the film yet, but do they go in depth about Teddy's bedazzled obsession? Is bedazzled like the sparkle stuff that typically teenage girls wear or young people wear? Is that what that is? Or like you have a shirt or a jacket and you put bedazzled stuff on it? I think that's what it is. They don't really go in depth about that. No, they don't. I mean, it's on camera now that you mention it, but they don't, as far as I recall, they don't really go into a soliloquy. Just like if I said earlier in the review, Adam, you might have missed it. They don't really mention Owen Hart. They show his image, but they never say, as far as I recall, the name Owen Hart. They list Jim Neidhart, British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, and Bret the Hitman Hart, of course, as Teddy's uncles, but they never say Owen Hart. And they never mention how Teddy felt about Owen's tragic passing and so forth, and if that influenced him one way or the other. Teddy, they do have a few clips of Teddy in the WWE. I guess it's some dark matches or so forth from back in the 2002 era. He was 18 years old and the first guy trained, or first youngest wrestler ever signed to the WWE, Teddy Hart. And I think that's a record still standing. What do you think Bret thinks about Teddy? It's my nephew, Teddy Hart. He's quite an interesting character. He's kind of a disgrace to the Hart family name. I hate to say it, but what has Teddy Hart ever done in the ring? Who's you can do a flip, off of the top of a cage, but I mean, has he ever gone 45 minutes with Skinner? I don't know. Has he ever carried Jim Neidhart to 30 minutes against the Bushwhackers at a house show in Poughkeepsie? I don't know. Has Teddy Hart ever? Has he ever wrestled Tiger Mask #2 in the Budokan Hall for 39 minutes? I don't know. I mean, I know that I've done those things, but I don't know if Teddy Hart's ever done any of those things. So when you talk about Teddy Hart, I mean, he says he wants me to pass the torch. I don't know if he could even light my torch. I don't even know if he could handle the flames of my torch. So that's what I think Bret thinks, buddy. Probably been kicked in the head too many times. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, buddy. And, we watch these wrestlers, we put them on a pedestal, and then at the end of the day, when they screw up, we kind of laugh at them. I mean, I do that too. I mean, you watch the wrestlers. Ric Flair has given me so many great times as a wrestling fan, but now he says some things that are just stupid, and he sucks Vince's ass so much, and he's always talking about his daughter. And it gets to be a little bit much. You know what I mean? So we do put these wrestlers on a pedestal. And then when they, turn out to be human, we kind of, write it off to getting kicked in the head too many times. I actually once talked to Terry Taylor, believe it or not, and he was a pretty cool guy. He was self-effacing, if that's the term, and talked about getting too many headshots and hits with the chair. I am trying this new thing, Adam, if you care. I bought this ring lamp about 6 months ago, and watch this. This is going to be very exciting. That was warm. Now it's cold. Now it's warm. Now it's cold. Now it's cold. Now it's warm. Now it's warm. Now it's, I guess that's neutral. Okay, and then you can increase the intensity. I don't know if you're seeing these little changes, but this is basically a $15 ring night, a ring. Well, I've had this thing for about 6 months. Thanks, buddy. So I'm going to be experimenting with this. This will be part of the new apparatus. I think it's probably going to be better at night because I got a lot of daylight in this room. So it's probably at nighttime when there's less light. It'll probably be more fun for everybody. Just fun to watch me play with the lights and so forth. Yeah, I can do my Glenn Close impersonation in Fatal Attraction, if you ever saw that. Okay, buddy. Well, I think that's about it. We've had a wonderful time here. Thanks to Adam and Ryan Reynolds for joining the show. If that is, in fact, Ryan Reynolds. If it's not, that's okay. Subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. For a couple of months, I had a nice growth of subscribers. I've kind of plateaued recently. So if you find folks, Adam and everybody else, can copy and share some of these links. Maybe not this one, but maybe some of the better videos. The Messier Mantra with the Ryan Reynolds screenwriter. Christopher Sparling's his name. Adam, if you like that movie, Buried. Christopher Sparling, who wrote that film, I interviewed, I think, twice. And many other wonderful things. There'll be some new original content, Mike Messier original films, coming sooner or later after the festival circuit has been entered. But we'll keep you abreast of those situations. So that's it. Have a wonderful Friday. Guess where I'm going tonight, Adam? I'll be going to see NXT in person. So buy my books, Fight and Play Basketball, A Distance from Avalon. You can go to the top of this YouTube channel and click on the right link, or you just go to Amazon, put Mike Messier in there. The picture was from the 90s TV show La Femme Nikita, so I guess that's not Ryan Reynolds at all. I do remember that show. I remember the movie, and then the TV show used to come on after Monday Night Raw, so that's probably how you get to be a fan of it. But yeah, that was the actress who played the Nikita was quite attractive, and she was pretty good at that role too. What else? I'll be going to see NXT live tonight in Jacksonville, Florida. I actually have a reserved seat, so I'll be having a nice, comfortable chair and seeing all the all the future AEW talent in NXT, right? And my lips are so chapped, I need to get something to do about that. Okay, everyone. You can go to MikeMessier.com, scroll to the bottom, and also purchase my books that way. Have a wonderful weekend.